Greetings everyone, my name is Joji Matthews and welcome to the Neotaku podcast. I'm here with Lachlan Still, the Pedantic Romantic.
What's the topic for today? I don't know.
It's shitty harem comedies.
Oh, okay.
No.
And I'm here with David's film.
Gangnam Style.
And we're talking about Sora No Otoshimono, fuckboy! So yeah, today's topic was suggested by Psy, the most famous South Korean. Yeah. So what's everyone's relationship with shitty harem comedies?
I've seen enough to recognize all the tropes and shit in it. I've seen Dude, I don't fucking know. I've seen Kiss Sis. I've seen some of the ecchi ones and some of the sort of more slice of lifey ones. They're fine, I guess, but they get pretty repetitive and transparent after long enough, I reckon.
What about you, Locke?
Guys, that wasn't a bit. I didn't know what the topic was. And my browser has a thing where it won't load Google and my anime list specifically. It will randomly, at points, just fail to operate Google or my anime list. So I can't go look at my anime list to see my harem comedy viewing history.
We could
I'm dying
cut
over
this.
here.
We could cut this as we wait, or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I will
David,
say,
you're editing this.
if not the first, then one of the first, traditional style harems, sort of in that old school Love Hina vein, that I watched was the Chinese anime Cupid's Chocolates. Kui Shang
Yeah.
Shi 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 Shao. When that came out, because that was one of the very first, whoa, it's a Chinese anime. And it was...
Yeah, that was way back in 2014, I
Yeah.
think.
Way back.
Because it was right alongside me getting into anime, seriously.
So long ago.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
3
was-
years.
fairly cool and fun. I'd imagine part of that is the freshness of not having experienced dozens of titles in that general genre and being tired of the tropes, and then part of it also the novelties that came with it being a Chinese production. But I thought that was a fun time. I'd certainly love to go back and watch your... what is it? In Tokyo, it's not Kenichi. It's what those good old ones. Love Hina, and then...
Yeah,
one.
some of the more classical, late 90s
Tenchi,
kind
there
of
we go,
stuff.
Tenchi Moyo, that's the one I was thinking of. I have one of the Tenchi Moyos on a bootleg DVD, I think.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I guess we all kind of have experience with harem comedies, especially
Yeah, it's called
bad
My
ones.
Life.
So there was a period where I actually thought that I was an anime protagonist.
No way.
I thought that I was Ichika from fucking what's it called? Infinite Stratos. Yeah.
Oh no.
Right.
And that anime changed my teenage years into just the most beautiful experience possible. I say that I'm still technically a teenager, but I mean early teenager, you're not my real dad. Saying, to these fucking anime dudes. And I think that the influence that, harem comedies kind of have on people's, introduction to fucking anime and stuff is interesting,
Yeah, I think the evolution of the genre is interesting because when I think harem, I think that old school iteration of them. Even, I mean, something like Oh My Goddess isn't super harem-y because it's got a fairly clear OTP, but that style of humor and such, which I find really endearing, has sort of given way to light novels, I guess, which are the primary source of harem anime, certainly nowadays. Your Battle Magical High School stuff, and it's crazy to think, like, that's the harem that the youngins are watching now. Your Asterisk Wars and your Akashic Records is...
Yeah, it's
even
kind
though
of interesting.
You don't think of it that way. Like, those are consistently the popular shows, so harems are as powerful as ever. It's just this sort of slightly different style of harem that doesn't necessarily come to mind first.
Yeah, I suppose you could sort of consider those shows as like an evolution of the sort of older harem shows, where like the particular, you know, tropes and formula of a particular genre just sort of get old, and so they just evolve, and become SAO
like
and Asterisk War.
Like, I'm looking at Mal right now, and I kind of see this really interesting divide between, like, you know, light novels now, and then stuff like Masamune-kun's Revenge, you know, which I guess does count as kind of, like, you know, a harem comedy.
And it's got harem elements, for sure.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to look at, like, this kind of split in the harem identity. Because on one hand, you've gone, like, to this very much, oh, we're totally not about the cute girls, guys. And then, like, the other hand going, like, this is about cute girls and, like, cool shit. And that's it, you know. Yeah, so it is an interesting, like, dichotomy to look at, I guess.
I guess one of the divides is in sort of the framing of the overall structure of the series, where... a lot of these SAOs or Asterisk Wars or Akashic Records have an overarching plot driving things, and they're very world building focused as well. There's all the lore and the magic and the bullshit.
I mean, saying very world building focused is giving them a bit much credit, but like,
well, I mean, like, a lot of it is shit, but that's, you know, it's light novels. They got all sorts of exposition and magical systems and nonsense to exposit all sorts of organizations and governmental institutions.
Yeah.
But so the harem is a prominent element of the series, but it's not sort of the focal point of it. Whereas the older style is very much driven by human interaction and the chemistry between characters, and in a lot of instances, there's not an overarching plot, or at least not one with any particular prominence or urgency to it.
Yeah. It is kind of very interesting how, like, you know, you have...
Like, harem was a genre in and of itself, whereas now it's like an accessory to other things. In most cases, you don't, like, quite get that pure harem show anymore much.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if... I'm not sure if I actually really like that, to be honest, because, say, like, in ReZero, it's so bleedingly transparent to me how it essentially... Well, I mean, it's not, like, an active sort of harem, it's more of, like, each arc is kind of, like, a new girl that gets introduced. But it's, like... I'd rather watch the ReZero that is, like, the story, where it's, like, it's just so transparent to me that, like, you know, each arc is a new girl and a new fetish, essentially, where it's, like, I'm not watching ReZero for this, like, I'm not interested in this, you know?
You could argue that in the case of something like a ReZero, it makes it work, like, thematically and narratively fairly well.
How so?
It's like Rem is, like, deeply tied into his character development and shit. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole series.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
yeah,
is,
Rem,
like...
thrown out a bone.
Rem's important. Amelia's somewhat important. Everyone else can fuck off.
Yeah.
It is interesting, like, how prominent and almost obligatory the harem as a side element is. Like, everything's got a cast of cute girls it's parading around in front of its MC for him to choose from, and I'm not sure how new that is necessarily.
This will be like the one front on which I defend ReZero, where I'm gonna say that the harem existed in order to further characterization
Yeah.
of the main character dude, because the character of Ram specifically, we'll use her as an example because she's the only good one, is that she has nothing but pure apathy for the dude, and so we get this kind of, interaction where he's attempting to better himself in some way for the twins. And it's all because of Ram's cruelty towards him. So yeah.
I mean, but I mean, in that case, like, you can sort of call Rem and Ram characters, but like, I'm speaking in the case of like the other characters that aren't really like that like, it's not important that they're girls or anything, like, it's just they sort of just, they are them because people like them, if that makes sense.
Well, see, that's
and,
where
like,
I would say
that's
that
what bothers me about it. That's what irks me about ReZero.
Yeah, but that's where I would interject with the character of Felix, right? Because Felix is not a girl, right? And Felix is entirely...
Fuck you. Fuck you. You know what the fuck I mean.
Yeah, but Felix is playing off this idea that of course these characters have to be a girl, despite having a giant monster cock, right? Like, like
I mean, but still, like, subversion isn't that valuable.
Oh no, I'm not saying that the subversion is what's valuable here. I'm saying that it's not not a constant within the within that logical set, Yeah. Whereas I don't know, something like Sekirei, none of the characters in Sekirei should exist, right? But they all do, and they don't further the characterization of the main character dude. They don't assist each other in any way. It's basically just they exist to have their tits exposed. And that's pretty much it.
Is that show, like, specifically like a harem comedy?
It's a harem action. I guess we should kind of broaden it outside of just harem comedies, because that is a pretty small, like,
Oh, I guess
area of
that
it.
would be the
Sure.
sort of the delineation, right? Your love hinas, the things driven by the human interaction, are often harem comedies, whereas something in the vein of an Asterisk or an Akashic Records with more of a sense of plot and outside events driving it is an action comedy. Or it's action harem, rather.
And, like, in sense, you could say that the harem comedy is almost dead, in a sense. Like, when we consider the last one that heavily, like, relied upon the comedy of itself, we'd be looking at, like, Kiss Him Not Me, probably, as, like, the last real example of that. And even then it doesn't fit inside.
We have Saikano Season 2 airing right now.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah. I'm just trying to, think up, like, harems that exist for the comedy, because while there is a show like Monmu, which, at its extremities is obviously utilizing the harem and the ecchi elements to, like, make jokes out of itself.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fairly classical style harem comedy.
Yeah, it is. But then it's kind of undercutting that by being almost a pure harem at the same time. Like, it's almost as if, like, there are moments which exist solely for each, and that their interactions aren't, like, so much key to the narrative, whereas in something like Onegai Sister or Onegai Twins, like, they kind of weave together the harem elements and the comedy.
In terms of harem comedy this season, we've also got a Renai Bokun, or a Love Tyrant.
Ah, yes, the one with the kiss note. Yeah, that is... yeah.
And
So, I guess... Yeah, there still is, like, an existing of the harem comedy. It's just the way in which it exists is kind of different from before.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the proliferation of harem as an almost prerequisite side element for a huge portion of anime has diminished the prominence or the notability of a more conventional harem.
Yeah.
It's like they're more common and omnipresent than ever, but also less visible and noteworthy than ever at the same time because of that.
Yeah. Harem has kind of become a chameleon, and like, you know,
Chameleon?
blended into the.
Did you really just say chameleon?
It's a Chinese
Yes,
chameleon.
I did. Shino chameleon-san, hi.
That's
Yeah.
not Chinese.
No, because Shino means Chinese. Fucking whatever.
Okay,
right?
alright.
Like
It means
fuck
Chinese
it,
in Japanese.
Yeah, it means Chinese in Japanese. I'm a fucking weeb, right? I'm not fucking Chinese or any shit, right? But like, you know, it's kind of weaved its DNA into so many other genres. Like, we can look at like Shinmai Mao no Testament, you know, as like a testament to that.
Got him.
Dog.
You know, where like clearly all it exists for is to have a bunch of cute girls, but it's also like this dude has a giant fucking sword, and of course he accidentally rips off the girl's clothes whenever he uses his
You
special
can look
attack.
at Clockwork Planet and see how this implementation of a harem element into series works like clockwork.
Oh god.
I'm a
What
deep
the fuck?
analysis guy. I'm a writer. I got the prose. It's
Sai, this
beautiful.
was your doing. You brought this upon yourself.
Yeah, God fucking damn it.
You can look at the harem undertones of Attack on Titan as a titanic achievement in storytelling mastery.
Yeah. Oh god,
I
what
will
have I
not even-
done?
I will not even be surprised to see that video title on your channel soon, Block.
A titanic achievement. The secret behind Attack on Titan's hidden harem.
Oh man, but like, you can look at like something like Shokugeki no Soma, right? And it didn't need to have a harem in it whatsoever, right? Like, it would have worked perfectly fine as just a tournament shonen series, which is what you see way more of in the manga. But the way that they kind of play it in the anime, there's a much more larger emphasis on like the interactions of these characters in like this, you know, romantic and like emotional sense, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's more erotic than anything else, isn't it? I mean, I haven't seen the show, but is it?
How have you not seen it?
I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
is.
I still need to.
like,
eh?
It is pretty erotic, but like that's only like a brief interlude in like this larger, you know,
Right.
setup, and it's the payoff to the joke that is the rest of the show, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, looking
Whereas,
through
like-
the seasonal chart, like I can't stop seeing harems everywhere. Even like Buso Shoujo Machiavellianism, like an action comedy harem thing. Like it's definitely prominent. It's just they're all shit. Where's my retro harem? Modern
Yeah.
anime is ruining harems because of moe.
I mean, you could even claim Moe is ruining. Yeah, of
I
course.
actually was about to mention that. Like I was afraid of sounding like a complete fucking plebe, but I was wondering if the sort of spread of moe and like cute girls anime was just sort of slowly replacing the traditional harem, which had like a male protagonist.
I wouldn't necessarily say replacing, because central to the harem is the male insert.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms
yeah.
of like this sort of audience and like the
Moe
appeal
is
of it.
certainly a sort of an answer to it, or something that's interesting to look at alongside it, because it's all about the removal of any male presence at all. For the most part, it's this homosocial female environment, generally absent almost any sexuality in general.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. It's really interesting to see that, like, this kind of move over time. Even though, like, you could argue that Moe and Harem were kind of in their prime or rather, that one was incepted because of the other being at its prime. Because you can see that, like, back in the 1990s, harems were proliferating quite, frequently. And so then to have, this idea of Moe kind of, stem out of the world of Ava that,
Yeah.
was built up around
And
that.
for the purpose of conversation, Moe is the like the generally cute girls style anime. Because I mean, if we're talking about Moe more as a feeling and an art style, that's something that's prominent in harems throughout. I mean, if we're talking even Urusei Yatsura, one of the big like foundational waifu titles, that was a harem, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. It's been a long time since I looked at Urusei Yatsura, so yeah. But yeah, this kind of like interaction over time of like, seeing something like Love Kome come out this season when, like, long, long ago we would have gotten, I don't know, something like a, Queen's Blade. That's not that long ago, but like, yeah.
So, Love Kome is sort of reverse harems, right? Are we getting into reverse harems?
I mean, Love Kome isn't a reverse harem, but like, yeah, if we do get into reverse harems, they're an interesting phenomenon to look at.
Yeah.
Except we don't know enough about them to comment upon the topic with any degree of...
Well, I mean,
I actually don't know if I've seen any. Really?
Oran High School Host Club is...
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it
I
sort
actually
of
haven't.
subverts
Okay.
itself as such, but it's in basic setup at least, sort of reverse harem-y.
Yeah, it is in terms of a basic setup. A more prominent, like, at least recent example would, of course, be Kiss Him Not Me.
Yeah, that one was pretty big. I didn't get around to watching it, but I know people really liked that one.
And the interesting element of it is that it does kind of subvert the idea that this realistically is a harem. Because the entire joke of it is, of course, that she's not really attracted to any of the guys whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whereas in the harem situation, the guy is attracted to all of them, but usually won't make a move for, like, say something like Infinite Stratos, which is probably the best example of just everything wrong with harems and why it's the best anime ever made.
The gender dynamics at play there are really interesting. Because in both cases, male or female, reverse or conventional harem, it's usually that lead who is rather hesitant, and a good deal, at least, of the advances are being made by the harem surrounding them. But whereas that sort of works for reverse harems, because the general sort of male-female romancing dynamic is with the males being those people making the advances. When you've got a conventional harem where you've got the male being the center point there, and he's supposed to be the ones making the advances, but because he's the focal point of that harem, he can't. That's the character. The main character in a harem never makes advances. You just get this sort of awkward purgatory where, like, women don't quite make the advance, but harem protagonists also don't make the advance, and so you get no progress.
I
Yeah,
wonder
it
what the
tends to rely
ratio
on just-
between
It tends to rely on just like things happening by the way of God. But yeah, Joji, go.
Yeah, I just wonder what the ratio between femdom doujins coming out and the popularity of harem anime is. Because, like, it does set up this kind of ideology, at least to some degree, we can argue about the lengths of, fiction affecting people's mentality, but like, it sets up this kind of interesting fictionalized universe in which, yes, the women shall just flock to me, and I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look at and think about, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine the fantasy of women flocking to you is sort of, in part, fueling or satisfying, rather, that hesitance on the part of the presumed audience, the type of people who aren't going out and making advances to women necessarily, who lack that confidence to do so. And so the fantasy of women who will sort of take charge and take that proactive step is attractive to them.
Yeah. Unless we've got somewhere else to go, I think, Joji, you didn't actually really outline your little history with harems and such. So, like, if you want to go into that, then...
I mean, like, when I was a young
I'm bracing
man...
myself.
So, if you've read my anime origin stories, anime origin story number 16, for any of you who are wondering, on animeoriginstories.com, I list my first known anime as High School of the Dead, which, I mean, that's a harem, and if it's not a good one, it's a bit, tasty. But realistically, that does talk about, like, this idea that we were floating around, that realistically harem has just kind of become a side tag to put onto other things, almost as like a guaranteed sales idea. Like,
essentially.
Like, I'm looking back at something like Handmaid May, right? And that's a harem, right? I don't know. That was just dedicated to, like, the characterization through the nature of the harem, whereas, like, High School of the Dead was actually a pretty well written show with some really interesting, like, ideas, and especially, like, like, cinematography in it. That was really interesting about it. But
cinematography.
Yeah, the way that they accentuated the curves of the characters through, like, the angles that they chose to use.
Breasts.
Yeah, it was impeccable.
I'm sure we're all talking about the same shot here. And it actually is a really fucking cool shot, I'll admit.
Yeah, exactly. like people pretend like that show is just, oh yeah, you watch it and you, like, never talk about it. But no, like, it's actually a really decent show, in terms of
if all ecchi
stuff
were
like
that creative in their presentation of fan service, we'd be much better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, as I continued to watch anime, I began to, like, view some more things out there, and I eventually came across a little known series called Infinite Stratos. And
Here we go.
that anime means so much to me, right? Like, I have two figures of Charlotte Denoise, like, sitting, like, on my shelves behind me. Because, in my opinion, she is among the cutest anime characters ever made.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, she's a little French girl. It's great. She's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and she pretended to be a dude for a while. Yeah, as God intended.
Oh, she's cute.
I'm not Hitler. What?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Well, these are, like, purple eyes, so...
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's interesting. So I kind of want to tell my story about Infinite Stratos, because I had this friend, right? I have this friend. His name is Made, and he's an Indonesian dude, right? He's pretty cool, and he goes to the fucking worst university in the ACT, unlike me, a true patrician. I need to take every opportunity to shit on him for going to UC, bitch! Yeah, anyway, so he gave me, he introduced me to Erage as well as showing me Infinite Stratos.
Oh,
And
is this the friend that gave you like a hard drive full of arrogance?
yeah, he gave me
Right.
he gave me a hard drive full of Erage one summer, and I was very thankful for him. And so yeah, I began to experience like a whole new world, because like, yeah, sure, I'd watched High School DxD, but now I was watching something where there was kind of an actual narrative, and there was kind of an excuse to watch it outside of just the fact that it was cute girls, like, and, you know, robots and shit. Yeah. And from then on, I spent the remainder of my high school years watching harems and like, just being like, ah, yes. Until last year, where I developed some taste and watched the best harem of them all, Tanaka-kun. It's technically a, I guess, harem. I don't know. All the girls fawn after him, so must be true.
Yeah, I actually didn't really go into detail because, like, I guess nothing really came to mind. But I think the first harem I saw basically was Mangaka-san and his assistants, I think it was called.
Cool.
That was, I think that aired in like, I don't know, 2015 or 14, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember how I found it, but yeah, that show was my sexual awakening. And so was Kiss Sis, which I saw like right afterwards, because I don't know, I was like hooked on this concept for a little while. Joji, you sound like you're saying something?
Oh, sorry, it's just mentioning Kiss X Sis. I mean, I think we all need to, you know, address the elephant in the room, the elephant penis that is our sexual awakenings via anime, you know.
So many of these Charlotte doujins are drawing her with way too big of tits. This is an outrage.
Yeah, that is my biggest complaint about Charlotte Denoise fan base, is the fact that is that they all draw her with like just too large breasts. It's just annoying. Yeah. It's frustrating.
You were saying?
Yeah, I think Kiss X Sis, like, you know, for so many people, you know, just gave our dicks new,
that
new
reminds me
poses.
how I fucking found it, actually. I don't know if it was like Facebook or Reddit or something, but I saw a screen cap of it in the episode where they go and get ice cream, and the ice cream shop was just called Anus Hole. And I was like, this is fucking hilarious. I have to watch whatever the hell this is. And it turns out it was my sexual awakening. So it's like a win-win, honestly.
It's kind of like one of those, the Persona awakenings in the Persona games, you know.
Yeah, I faced myself,
I
I
like that.
reached out to the truth, and
Yeah.
all that.
Yep. Yeah. So do you have a history with you know, anime, you know, from this kind of ecchi perspective, Locke? Because I know you had an
as
unusual...
I've mentioned at points, I got into it through all the artsy art house shit, so I sort of circumvented a teenage harem ecchi binge phase.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting, like, consideration to, like, you know, think about, is that, like, the trajectory that everyone kind of takes through this maze of anime is very different, and that, like, you know, seeing ecchi harems, I think it informs people of, like, not necessarily something that realistically reflects their tastes. Like, yeah. Like, because I know that if it was 5 years ago and Shinmai Mao no Testament came out, I would have been all over that shit. I would have been like, this is the best fucking anime ever. But now I'm just like, this is the worst piece of shit in the universe. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Eromanga Sensei count as a harem comedy?
I'd say so. It's
yeah,
multiple
yeah, that's
girls who have crushes on.
Yeah. Man. That's a show that exists,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, yeah, like I mentioned to you off recording, Joji, but like so far I've found Eromanga Sensei actually like very sort of ironically entertaining, just as like one of those fun kind of trash shows. And like a big part of it is that like very poorly concealed harem, you know.
Yeah, like, you know, there's only so much you can do with a light novel about light novels with light novel tropes on top of it, you know.
We got light novels on top of your light novels with a side of light novel for your light novel.
Like, Ero Manga Sensei exists inside Ero Manga Sensei. We have an Ouroboros cycle of shit. Like, yeah. That's the amazing world that we live in. Should we take some time to shit on Sora No Otoshimono?
I haven't
Sure. I mean,
seen
I
it,
don't.
so I'm
Yeah.
not well equipped to do so.
Yeah, it's Sai's favorite anime, which
Okay,
you know,
right.
yeah. Since he suggested this topic, I think we need to make fun of him for it, at least in some capacity. You know,
Yeah, I mean, if you've
Sai,
go,
why
go
did
ahead.
you do this? I don't know. It's decent. That's what
You.
Shots fired.
you know, like it's I think it's okay. You know, I think it's all right.
Personally,
Like,
I think the main girl also has too big of tits. So there's my
Yeah.
complaint.
Yeah, take that, Sai.
Yeah. Sai, why are you sexually attracted to large-breasted females?
I
Right?
think
This
his
is just
waifu from the show is more of a lolly, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Sai describes himself as wanting to be a lolly, so, you know. I think we're all on the same page there, right? We all want to be lollies.
Yeah, that's sort of an undeniable facet of my very being.
Not really.
What the
Sorry.
fuck, David?
I don't
David's a
know.
good boy. He can't.
Yeah,
he's-
that's true.
The boy is
Yeah.
integral.
I have to maintain my identity as a good boy, good sweet boy.
True. David wants to stay as a sweet young boy. Well, I mean, I guess that makes you a Shota, so, you know.
Sure.
Well,
Yep.
well, David's like super short as it is, so he could probably pass for a Shota.
Yeah. The world's smallest man. You guys may not know this, but when I first met David over here, I was like, I'm a full foot taller than you. But yeah, that's all I want to say about David being short, because he's such a good, sweet young boy, you know. Is JoJo's a harem anime? That's the real question here, right? Like,
Jojo.
I
yeah,
think JoJo encompasses every possible genre, style, and
exactly.
iteration. So
Yeah.
by necessity, it would also encompass harem.
Jojo does have incredible girls though. So I mean, if
Yeah.
if it was a harem, I might not mind. I don't know.
What? Jotaro's mum. That she's pretty good. I've seen those pictures, fam. Just like, oh man.
Yeah, the hermit purple, it's all wrapped around.
Yeah. What do you all think of School Days?
Haven't seen it. I wish I did.
I haven't seen it, but I've consumed a decent amount about it. Seems pretty decent, pretty good, pretty harem.
Have you seen
Yeah,
it,
well-
Joji?
Well, yeah, the thing that really interests me about School Days is that, like, you know, it's 11 episodes of, oh, that's an alright harem, and then one episode of, like, probably the best ending that a harem anime has ever had.
And then one episode of Boat.
One episode of Boat, yep. Never forget the Boat
Oh,
episode.
is that the boat episode?
Yeah.
That's a nice boat, or whatever the meme is.
Yeah, nice boat, where the TV censoring of it was they just put a picture of a boat there for a large portion of the episode because it was a bit too dark to, you know, put on
Yeah, well,
television.
the backstory is in the final episode. Spoilers! Someone gets axed to death, and
Oh.
just recently in Tokyo, a girl had axed her parents to death, and so to be in good taste, they did not show that.
Well, actually, multiple characters got axed to death. This is yeah. So one character gets her like guts cut out, and she's like, "Haha, you're not pregnant," and then and then she cuts off the head of the dude, and then yeah, she's cuddling it on a boat, and like that's really intriguing. Like it's really intriguing to see how they
really interesting.
Yeah, because like you know, you look at this harem anime, right? And you think, "Oh, well, this is just going to be, you know, your regular harem anime." And for the first 11 episodes, it pretty much is.
Yeah.
And then it's a Thomas the Tank Engine.
From somewhat early on in school days, it starts going further than most harem do. I mean, it's got like
yeah, true. He does
sex is going
legitimately
down. He's
fuck.
getting tail.
Yeah.
MC is not a bitch.
Yeah. So that is something that I am proud of School Days for, is
I'm proud of
letting
you.
characters fuck.
Good job, Makoto. You went out there and you slayed.
Yeah,
and
the
you were
boys.
slain, but
Yeah. You know, look. Here's the deepest thing. Here's the worst thing about the harem genre, right? Is that for the most part, publishers and authors, they don't want the characters to fuck,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's a big problem.
But here's the thing about real life relationships, right? People fuck.
What?
And if I know, David, I know for a
What?
for a kissless
Bullshit.
virgin like yourself.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I've never seen any evidence to support this.
Prove it.
Well, David, when
Co-related tonight.
when you were a young man, before you were a young man even, your parents loved
No.
each other very much.
No.
And that's how your brother was born.
Oh, just him. Okay, not me. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Carry on.
You are the sweet young elements that your brother wasn't able to, you know,
Yeah.
retain.
I was born like a Powerpuff Girl, just like ingredients.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
what the fuck are we talking about?
Characters fucking in anime, right?
Yeah, it should happen. It really should. I think, because it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like it. Of course, it'd be like, well, not even bordering on hentai. It would just be hentai at that point, wouldn't it? But like, sex is
Not
just such a
necessarily.
huge.
Hey, hold on. Scum's
Oh.
Wish got to have sex
Oh, true.
without the hentai.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
can
it's like,
depict
sex
sex
should just
without
happen.
just like dick and vagina. You can
Yeah.
depict sex in a whole bunch of ways. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
We got some Dick and V, I think, in Scum's Wish points.
that might have been the R plus version for fucking ATX or whatever.
I mean, we
Like
didn't get to see the alluded to Dick and V on screen there, but it was happening.
Yeah, but like you can visually depict it in more ways than showing the two things entering each other. You
Yeah,
know?
you can have sex without it being porn, and then you can jack
Yeah.
off to it anyway, because Scum's Wish is really hot.
Yeah. And like the other thing is, I like it when harem anime like to actually justify the reason that characters can't fuck. Like
Yeah.
like
Monmusu.
yeah, Monmu is the best example of that. Like, you know,
What's the situation in that one?
It's against
legally
the law.
they
don't want
can't
monster
fuck, yeah.
girls and humans having sex with each other.
Oh, so like
Big problem.
Shimonetto as well.
Yeah.
but yeah, like in they introduce a clause in Monster Musume where characters have to get married before they
Right.
can fuck. If they want interracial relationships whatsoever, you know. And that's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean it's better than just sort of like, what do you call it? You know, just bullshit writing the characters out of like a situation like just at the most convenient time.
It's better
It's
than
like- it's
breaking
better
the
when it's
logic of your
justified.
world by having characters with no reason not to be fucking
Yeah.
still not fucking.
Yeah. Like like Ichika in Infinite Stratos. Do you all want to know his reason for not fucking any of the girls? He's in love with his fucking sister.
Yes! No, that's a valid reason. I will
Yeah,
hear
the
nothing to the
boys.
contrary. That's a classic.
It's,
I can't
it's
fuck
just-
any of these thirsty bitches because I love my sister.
Like, I think that's the exact same plot as the Asterisk War.
This dick
Like-
is hers and hers alone.
You know, there was that one really good harem comedy anime called To Pimp a Butterfly, you know, and the main character had this one line, "This dick ain't free!" Iconic scenes in anime, everybody.
Are we fresh out?
I don't think we're fresh out just yet. I think there's some more things to be said. I don't know.
Well,
Is
we
there?
we mentioned Evangelion as a precursor of some developments in Harem, and that's definitely an interesting one, just because it was so important for waifu culture.
Yeah, like Ava really being kind of the origin point of waifuism and the world in which we inhabit as the modern anime fan, where like I guess a lot of character interactions are formed around I guess people characters not being quite open with their emotions, which especially in End of Ava and the Rebuild escalates into a form where it really takes hold of the elements of character interaction that we didn't get to see so much of in the television series, because it was much more so focused around the psychological and these very much more in-depth kind of thematic elements and the bureaucracy of it all,
Yeah, I mean the harem, if you could call it that, in Evangelion sort of just comes about through the fact of Shinji wanting to fuck everyone. Like that's
Yeah.
like it's very naturally resulting just from his own sexual desires there.
Yeah, and I don't think I think that that Jesse had it right when he said if you don't have a waifu from Ava, then you're wrong,
Yeah.
unless it's Mari, then you're also wrong. Do
By
you
the
not
way,
have a
Mirage.
Ava girl?
Oh no, I like
My girlfriend
oh.
wanted me to tell you that she said hi. Hi, Mirage. Okay, we can continue.
That's an interesting case, but yeah.
I like.
Do you not
Misato.
have an Ava girl, David?
No, Misato. If
Misato?
anyone, it's her.
I mean,
Yeah.
she does have a pretty good bod,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know.
Have you
Being
seen
drunk
the
is cool.
the there's like actually a full like animated Evangelion hentai thing.
Huh.
Like Evangelion
yeah.
was so popular, they got together a team of
Yeah,
people
I'm not
animated.
surprised at all, actually.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, so the harem of Ava spawned potentially my favorite doujin, and it's actually a doujin anthology of about 10 years of one guy's work.
Yeah.
It's called the Plug Suit Fetish Library.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's.
Great.
It is like a couple of 100 pages of just plug suit hentai, and I am just so proud that that is able to exist,
Yeah, no, the wonders that Eva did for the hentai community cannot be understated. The volumes of pornographic content is simply astounding, and I take my hat
Yep.
off to it.
So I'm gonna pour one out to all of you artists out there who draw your own Ava hentai, because
This one's for
honestly,
you.
yep, you're doing God's work, I'm gonna finish off this bottle of Passion Pop in one swig because of this, right?
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, fuck, that's disgusting. But But yeah, Ava, kind of initialized. I guess it's a harem that's not at all centered around the harem elements whatsoever, and they really the most prominent case of Ava as a harem anime is the rebuilds 2.0 and 3.0.
Yeah. Or the Shinji Ikari Raising Project spin-off manga.
Yeah.
True, the Raising Project probably is the best case of it. There's also
I mean, if we want to talk about like the best case, as in the goodest one, we've got that little bit from episode 26 or 25, wherever it was, of End of TV.
Yeah.
Like that's the best harem ever.
Oh yeah, the What Do You
Ever.
Want from episode 26, yeah. Oh,
Were you busy riding his baloney pony?
oh yeah. But then there is also Girlfriend of Steel, which is probably one of the most interesting cases of Ava as a harem work of fiction, because yeah, it's just waifus in every single direction, and it has an Ava storyline that you could see as an episode, but then also not quite, and that it works really well as a visual novel. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this might be off topic, but like I find it strange how the Ava girls are like seen, like it's so many people do see like the Ava girls as waifus, where like my view of Ava is that it's such a mature show, and it covers so many like deep themes. It's like I honestly I don't really understand why
A lot of the people
it is
who...
like, it seems sort of disrespectful to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. A lot of the people who connected to it most deeply when they watched it at that age, around the age of the characters, so it just sort of engenders a degree of attraction to them, and then the fact that they're so well realized and they feel like such real people also just sort of lends itself to an infatuation with them.
Yeah, I can see that, I suppose.
Yeah. So like there is really an interesting case there of like the ways in which, like, the depth in which they deal with, like, them as people as opposed to them as kind of objects. Like, I don't know. There's this kind of idea that, like, yeah, these aren't just, objects for your sexual appeal. This is just me reiterating everything Jess said in Wonderful Waifus Ava.
Yeah.
It
It creates a more enduring attraction because it isn't the sort of the grounds for that attraction isn't you saw them and they looked hot, and that will fade with time as tastes evolve, or you see 101 new hot girls. There's something very specific about them and their psychology, and so the attraction comes to the attraction to them as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, that kind of deeper look into these as more than just, characters. And, like, I think every kind of mainline Gynax girl has a place in someone's heart like that. I think a lot of people have Yoko Littner as, that kind of goat waifu. I think a few people have the Gunbuster and Diebuster girls as, up there. Like,
yeah, I mean, you with Gynax, you sort of combine just some of the most knockout, hottest designs ever with brilliant characterization in most cases as well. So,
yeah. So I think that's a point where we can actually wrap on the actual meat of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, Joji. My girlfriend told me to tell you that she said to tell you to F your own beehole.
I will do that. Yep.
Yeah.
He was gonna do that regardless. I don't think this was necessary.
Yeah, just really words of encouragement there, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that myself, yeah.
Where did that come from? Why what's up with that?
Just celebrity call-ins.
Huh?
Just call-ins, yeah. So yeah, let's look at some questions. Okay, what are your favorite H doujins? Also, what are your favorite non-H doujins? Lord Liquid Bacon.
Oh. Does jewelry count? Do you guys know jewelry? There's
Isn't
like a
that one of the
one-shot
ones on your
doujin.
3x3?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just a really great like portrayal of sex and love, and it was just like on top of just being really hot, it was like just really sweet, you know. It was just it was nice, just really nice.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, and Mega Milk, good shit.
Yeah.
Good fucking shit.
Locke, go ahead while I'm loading up Faku so that I can read off my list of favorites.
I'm not sure if I have any non-H doujins that like stick out in my memory that I could call upon here, but in terms of H doujins, some of the best, there's one with a Fuda Asuka that I'm a really big fan of, and I think an integral part of getting that coveted title of favorite doujin from me has to be the exclusivity of it. In order for me to sort of revisit this specific one, it's got to be a fetish there that's somewhat rare in getting catered to satisfactorily, and thus the need to revisit this specific one to get that. And so the Evangelion Fuda Doujin selection is not brilliant, and then the Asuka with not too big of tits collection is also somewhat limited, and this combines both of those in just a perfect fashion. So that's up there definitely.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna list off some of my favorite doujins. So of course there's the plug suit fetish library, which is just, oh man, I love
Bellissimo.
that fucking
Primo.
yeah, it's wonderful. So then there's Snow Queen, Secret Love Sarasa. There are all sorts of people. This one's like a 10 out of 11 out of 10. Like it's genuinely like one of the best that I've ever read. Lovely Face, Give Our Lives Some Warmth, Lick Lick Addiction, I Refuse to Simply Be Cute, My Girlfriend's Secret, and Please Rika-chan. Those are all like top tier. Like I can revisit them whenever. Especially the works of the artist Nozoi, who has just this wonderful aesthetic that I just want my dick inside. Just those sharp lines and that messy shading and just oh yeah. It's wonderful.
Nozoi.
I love messy lines. Yeah. Nozi.
Oh, Nozi.
Yep. Nosy, yeah.
Oh, this is a unique. Like their faces are cool.
Yeah, and that's why I enjoy it so much, is that it looks great. In terms of non-H doujins, I tweeted about this one the other day, and technically it is published now, like by an actual publisher, but I'm still gonna talk about it as a doujin. That is Devilchi, which is just an amazing ecchi harem that has a lot of heart, where characters genuinely confess their feelings to one another, and that like it's realistically an open discussion about these characters' sexualities, and like even though they're not having sex in it, it's just like really good. It's a non-lewd one. Yeah. So I think we can say that wraps up this week's episode of
Was that our only question?
Yeah, that was our only question. Guys,
Liquid Bacon coming in clutch.
Oh, well, I mean, like, someone told us to, like, rank the works of Hideaki Anno, and I'm just like, fam.
That'll be a podcast series.
That is more than one podcast. Like, yeah. It's it's difficult to talk about those. Yeah. So Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Neotaku podcast. I've been Joji Matthews, and today I've been joined by Lachlan Still, the Pedantic Romantic.
I now know what the topic for this week's podcast is.
And David's Films.
Yamete!
Yamete Kudasai!
Alright, give us suggestions and questions and whatnot. And we'll see you next
Big
time.
ups to Sai for being the most viewed video on YouTube. 10 things you didn't know about Skyrim.
Alright.
Got him!
Boys. Mirage here.